Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video with Gridlock at Dover yesterday, it's time of year again to look at what we lost when we sacrificed freedom of movement and what exactly the Brexiteers think we gained. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel. So summer holiday season has begun again, and predictably, Dover ground to a halt as people try to flee Crazy Island. The Brexit papers are trying to draw attention to rail strikes, but the French border officials weren't on strike, were they? It's worth pointing out that this is our third year outside the customs union single market, and gridlock at Dover is now incredibly predictable. It's like, oh, but there's this thing happening now. Yeah, what about last year? Oh, there was this other thing happening last year. What about the year before? Oh, there was this other thing. Okay. What about, how come these things never seemed to happen then when we were in the single market and customs union? Like, it used to be the case that the port would get overwhelmed a few days in the year. Now it's for days at a time at very predictable points. The port can hardly handle the normal levels of freight and travel, and even with post-Brexit traffic control systems permanently in place, they used to be temporary, they used to be reactionary, now they're permanent, you still get days at a time whenever it is holiday season. Now, don't get me wrong, the UK government could certainly have handled things better. Part of it is definitely Tory incompetence. Before we left the single market, the French authorities said to us, well, you know, if you expand a little bit there, we can provide you with more border officials and get people through more quickly at the busy times. No, said the Tories. We'd rather people got stuck in queues for hours at a time, and we let the Daily Mail blame you lot for the delays. But even if we had a more competent government, there's no getting away from the fact that we now require more checks and of more people passing across the border, and that the port of Dover simply cannot cope. Cars had to make way in order for lorries to get through. Of course, we need the freights to keep moving. People leaving Britain, they're not contributing to our economy, but some bugger else's. So the government has to prioritise freight because we need that. We need the trade to keep flowing. It's worth remembering that the creation of the single market massively boosted our trade specifically because it reduced trade barriers and freed up movement. Now, because it became so much quicker and easier to travel around Europe, the level of trade increased as a direct result of that. As too, of course, did the level of recreational and business travel. It just became so much easier. So we increased our amount of travel and trade to meet those sort of newer horizons. The problem now is we've gone back decades in time to when these barriers last existed, but we're still trying to carry out the same levels of haulage and travel. But we can't manage it. Hence the regularity of delays in getting through the border like this. And it's worth considering that the very people who are getting stuck in these traffic jams are also the very people who tend to vote in large numbers. You know, one of the biggest weaknesses for Brexiteers in their extreme vision of Brexit is arguably something like this. Middle-class people who'd been taking for granted the freedoms which come with EU membership suddenly been told they can't have those benefits at all. You might think it's the tens of billions of pounds that our treasury is now lighter because of trade restrictions. You know, all this talk about, oh, we can't do that, it would cost £2 billion. Oh, we can't do that, it would cost £1 billion. We're hemorrhaging tens of billions of pounds, the Treasury personally, a year. You know, and now people are being told that they can't go on their holidays as easily. And blaming the French or strikes taking place 100 miles away only gets you so far. Because when I read these scant reports on these regular meltdowns at Dover, what I'm seeing so far is deflection. Oh, it's this, or it's that, or it's this other thing. Is it really? Occasionally the subject of Brexit pops up, as some outlets are inching towards an admission that, well, if you raise barriers between yourself and your neighbours, then yeah, there are going to be delays. But I'll tell you what's missing from the conversation. But it surely can't remain absent forever. The elephant in the room on this particular issue is the flip side of the argument. See, the regularity and the severity of these delays at ports like Dover is down to Brexit. Specifically our hard Brexit. Leaving the EU didn't do it. It was leaving the customs union single market. That is a fact. If you sacrifice freedom of movement, you sacrifice, well, your freedom to move. And if movement is less free, you have to be delayed. That's how it works. Now, Brexiteers, when deflection doesn't work, try to then downplay the problems. Oh, it's not that serious, stop making a fuss. Well, try telling that to some middle-class Karen stuck in the car for 12 hours on the approach to Dover. And imagine what it's going to be like if ferry operators at some point are going to lose their rags. Because think about it from their point of view, right? So ferry gets loaded up, goes across, unloads, loads up some more, brings it back, and that's their business model. But if it takes longer to load the ferries up because of all the checks, that means fewer runs, which means they're making less money. Now, there will come a point where they have to adjust that business model, at the very least charging way more, and I mean way more. That'll be another Brexit cost. But what's missing from the debate here is what did we gain? We gained freedom. No, we didn't. We lost it. That's why there's gridlock at Dover. What did we gain? Bog all. For all the xenophobes, it was supposed to be about immigration, wasn't it? It's supposed to be about stopping foreigners. Immigration figures across the board are higher. In fact, you know, it's a little bit overstated because of Hong Kong and Ukraine. But technically, immigration figures are at record levels. And this is 3 years into Brexit. And as for making Britain less attractive for foreign tourists, that was never part of anyone's plan. It was never supposed to be stopping people coming here and spending their money and then going home. And we can already see the general trends in attitudes towards Brexit. As time goes on, more and more regret it, and fewer are sticking by it. But regret is about the past, can't go back in the past. What polls also show, however, when it comes to the future, is that more and more want to rejoin, with fewer and fewer wanting to stay out. And looking ahead, you think to yourself, okay, so what's on the horizon which will reverse this trend? Well, unless Brexiteers come up with some benefits for their extreme Tory Brexit, nothing. They've got 1 more year in power. Then that's Labour in, who've explicitly stated that they want to converge. Sure, the Tory Brexiteers will then blame Labour for messing it up. Oh, the benefits were just there and then they're gone. But that doesn't matter to people. They will have seen years of a Tory Brexit government failing to deliver the benefits. It won't matter to them even if you convince people that Labour don't really believe in it. It doesn't matter that they're not even trying. If neither government can produce benefits, then why are we stubbornly shooting ourselves in the foot as a third country? And if middle-class voters are going to be screwed with massive delays on their holidays, these Brexiteers had best come up with why they don't like freedom of movement. Because that family stuck at Dover for 12 hours, with the kids asking why they're not moving for 12 hours, they're starting to think freedom of movement sounds like a pretty good idea. As soon as the media decide that maybe we should ask what we got in return for losing our freedom of movement, because we were the ones who lost it, nobody else, then what are they going to say then? I think ethereal arguments about sovereignty are wearing a little bit thin these days. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, the join button for memberships. And until next time, I'll see you later.